Is with us now for all the biggest health headlines hitting the news. And we touched on it earlier, but we were talking about AstraZeneca. The COVID vaccine could cause a rare side effect.
Yeah, so this side effect that is all out in the papers in the morning this day about this blood clot that can be has been linked. And in court, there are some families that have gone to court to take AstraZeneca to say, look, you knew about this clot. And essentially, we've been sold a vaccine which we didn't know much about, and we've given it. Now, it's really important to understand the vaccine has saved millions and millions of lives. There's a rare clot that's caused by thrombosis cytopenia reaction. So it's a syndrome of conditions that can happen. We knew about AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine causing this back in March 2020. After 2 months of doing this, the European regulator said, actually, we think there's a very, very rare case of TTS that can cause this clot. The reason that it happens is, if you think about how vaccines work, is they take the genetic combination of the COVID, the genetic makeup, they snip it up, they then put it into the vaccine, and then that goes into an injection into your bloodstream. What we realised was that in really rare cases, for some people, it actually triggered off their factor IV protein as well. So instead of the virus or the immune system thinking that it's factor IV protein is actually a virus or is it part of your body, what it started doing was putting other platelet cells around that factor IV protein.
And that's what causes the clot?
That travelled around the bloodstream, and that's what caused the clot. And so we know that this is the case with a lot of other vaccines, not just the AstraZeneca vaccine. And so it's really difficult to now prize apart what it is in regards to what was happening with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And this is why the families have taken this to court. So it's not with all vaccines, though. So Moderna, the Pfizer vaccine, there are even lesser risks. When we are putting something out into the community to save millions and millions of lives, as we did in the pandemic, there are going to be very, very rare side effects, and this needs to be investigated. And this is part of a process that I, as a scientist who looks at and gives vaccines to my patients, always go through the risks with my patients.
Yeah, tragedy and heartbreaking for those families that have lost loved ones through a vaccine that they were being told they had to take.
Yeah, a vaccine that they were told to take, but then we did have alternative ones as well, so like Pfizer and Moderna. And also, these are rare side effects that we know are a complication with many, many other vaccines as well. On Friday, we were talking about the fact that for the first time in history, we've got possibly a vaccine that can prevent skin cancer, melanoma, from coming back. So I think the fact that is that the more that we're getting to have vaccines and using mRNA technology out into the community, we will be coming across this more and more. But yet, on balance, we're saving lives.
Okay.
Let's talk about the next headline, which is insulin shortages causing stress and anxiety for diabetes tablet patients. Important part of the whole treatment for someone with diabetes.
And I'm seeing this in my surgeries as well. And this is something that we're battling with in the NHS, in my NHS clinics. Type 1 diabetics, they need insulin to survive, but the fact that we're having shortages on this isn't actually something that's rare. For me as a clinician, I've been dealing with this for the last month or so. Some of the insulin have just been discontinued, and some that are in shorter supply. In fact, the Nuffield Health report that came out a month ago said, look, Britain is really struggling to get stock supplies of lots of different things, and they blame Brexit for this.
Right.
We're also having... Well, it's difficult for me to talk about politics as a clinician because I don't know what stock supplies are happening. But we do know that, obviously, at the cost of living crisis, pharmaceuticals are having to make ends meet as well. But we have other medications, as well as type 1 diabetes medicines, such as insulin, and type 2 diabetics also use insulin as well. Not the fact that that's the only thing that's not in stock. I've got ADHD medicine that I'm struggling to get. HRT for the last year and a half that I've been able to source for some of my patients and having to swap. And contraceptives, the pill. There are certain types of the pill for the last 2 to 3 years I've had to either swap or change because I can't get hold of. Ranitidine is another medication. There's a whole host of medications. And then if you think back to the fact that now we're having to look at other supplies in America, Canada, because we can't go to the European market as freely as we could do. So is it fair to say it's Brexit?
Were we struggling before Brexit to get them?
We were struggling, yes, but lesser than this, not as much.
Yeah. OK, next one. Healthy habits can overpower genes.
Yeah, do you know what? There's always this argument. Is it nature versus nature? Is it your genetics?
Nature.
Nature, nature. We've always had that argument. But healthy lifestyle could offset the fact that what your genes are predisposed to do and switch on the right, because genes get switched on and switched off.
Okay.
And you could actually preserve your life by 62%, according to this trial and study that's been done in Edinburgh and Chinese scientists. So it's all the stuff that we already know.
Yeah.
So stop smoking or don't smoke, sleep well. We forget about how important sleep is for our dopamine and our cortisol levels, exercise, regular exercise, cut down alcohol, or dare I say it, have no alcohol whatsoever. It's all those. And actually, one of the barometers of whether you're going to live longer isn't actually always exercise and healthy habits, it's your social connections. So how happy you are. So if you are surrounded by people who make you thrive, in fact, that has also been a barometer of longevity.
Wow.
Good job I come here every
Isn't
morning.
it just?
So really be picky about who you surround yourself with and maybe say no to toxic people.
Oh,
Surround yourself with
thank
lovely
you.
people and no to the
for
toxic
joining
ones.
us this morning,
Thanks,
Nighat.
Nighat.